Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all the books that I gave 5 stars in the year of 2022. I definitely gave out more at the beginning of the year than at the end of the year, so this might be quite a long video. I read 222, if you're new, I read 222 books last year, and let's find out how many I gave 5 stars. Some of these are like 4.5 stars or higher that I've rounded up, and some of them are 5 stars. Anything that I rated 5 stars in Goodreads, I'm gonna include in this video. If you want to see my actual ratings, make sure you follow me on Storygraph. Without further ado, let's hop into this video because I'm sure that it's going to be a long one. Okay, so the first book is The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is gonna be pretty rapid fire. I'm gonna give like a 1 or 2 sentences about each book, but I'm going to just fire through them. So the first book is The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I actually read quite a few Rachel Lynn Solomon books this year and I loved all of them. This is the first book that I read by her, and I read quite a few more this year, which you'll see later on. The next book is Full Tilt by Emma Scott. This is the first book in the Full Tilt duology. This one broke my heart into a million pieces, and I actually think I'll probably do a reread this year just because I want to read I never ended up reading the second one because I was not emotionally prepared, but it was so beautiful, so good. If you liked 1,000 White Kisses, this is like the NA version of that. And it's better done in my opinion. The next book is Dirty Rowdy Thing by Christina Lauren. This is the second book in the Wild Seasons series. These books are about a group of friends that got married in a drunk night out in Vegas, and the things that happened from those relationships after that. This one was my favorite one of the series. It followed a Canadian fisherman, which was just a lot of fun. The next book is The Risk by St. Abbey. This is the first in the Mindfuck series. This is another one that I will definitely be rereading in 2023 because I did not finish the series and I don't remember what happens, but I do remember loving the books. The second book is The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second in the Inheritance Game series. I love these books. I love the characters. I love the plot. I love everything about it. It's so much fun. If you have, for some reason, not picked these up because you don't think YA is your genre, I really still recommend you read these. Next is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This one is worth all the hype that it gets. I loved both the characters so much. It's a really cute, really fluffy, great read. I don't know if I would give it a full 5 stars if I read it again now, but I really enjoyed it when I was reading it. Then I started to reread the Vampire Academy series. I haven't read these books since high school. I'm including this on here because I absolutely loved them and it's just as good as I remember. Next is Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon, another amazing book by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Her NA books are just like so good, or I guess her adult books are just some of my favorite. They're rom-coms. They've got the perfect balance of comedy and romance. Next is Sidetracked by St. Abbey, which is the second book in the Mindfuck series. Again, all I remember about this was that it followed the female main character was a serial killer and the male main character was the FBI agent in charge of tracking down her case, and that it's a love story. That's all I remember, and I really need to reread this series. The next book is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, which is the second book in the King of Scars duology. This is my favorite duology of the Grishaverse, and I think that it's really underhyped. I think everyone talks about Six of Crows. Nobody talks about King of Scars, and I love it. Love Nikolai. Loved it. Next is the Bromance Book Club, which is by Lisa K. Adams. This is the first book in the Bromance Book Club series. These books are just so much fun. Again, a perfect combination of comedy and romance in my opinion. A lot of fun. I don't know if I would give this a full 5 stars if I was to reread it now, but at the time I just really enjoyed it and actually pulled me out of a reading slump sort of where I just had been reading a lot of 3 stars at the time, and so when I read this I was like immediately 5 stars, loved it. Next up is Frostbite by Rochelle Mead, which is the second book in the Vampire Academy series. I don't know what else, I don't want to spoil anything, but I know these books are old, but I love them so much. Please read them. Next is Where Good Girls Go to Die by Holly Renee. This is the first book in the Good Girls series or trilogy, I believe. And this is another one that I don't know if I'd rate 5 stars if I reread it, but I was really in the mood for a brother's best friend romance, like the angsty, like conflicts kind of one, and it delivered exactly what I was wanting at the time, so it was perfect. Next is Amour Amour. Make sure you go check out my top 10 books of 2022 to hear more about this book. But I read this while I had COVID last year, and the fact that I still remember every single thing about it goes to show you how much this book meant to me, and I loved it so much. Next is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is the first in the Friend Zone trilogy, and this is the first book I read by Abby Jimenez, and she's become a go-to author for me. I love her books. 5 stars. Easy. Next is Recipe for Persuasion, which is the second in the Rajas series about the Rajas family by Sonali Dev. And this book, I can't remember, all these books are a retelling of a classic book. I think this is a retelling of Persuasion. I've never read the classic of this, but I loved this book enough that it made me want to read the classic version of it. Next up is Crushed by Tracy Wolff. This is the second in the Crave series. These books are like crack to me. I don't know what she puts in these books, but comfort series, I love it. I don't know how else to say it. Next is Neon Gods by Katie Robert, which is the first book in the Dark Olympus series. This book is like a lot of fun. It's very swoony and steamy. Katie Robert does anything. I will read anything Katie Robert writes, but I loved this series, and I love a good Persephone and Hades retelling. Next is Forever Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is the 2.5 book in the Simple Wild series. This is their like short novella to end Calla and Jonah's story, and I just love their love story so much. The Simple Wild will always hold like a really special place in my heart because I love them so much. But I didn't love the second book as much as I loved the first one, but this one I did love as much as I loved the first one. Next is The Summer Proposal by V.I. Keeland. This is a sports romance. It's a hockey romance, and I loved the characters in it. It does have a third act breakup, which is disappointing, but I didn't expect to love this one as much as I did. Next is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This book is so good. It was like my number 2 book of the whole year. I loved the description of the Ontario scenery. It just made me, I got sucked into this book and read it so quickly because I loved every minute of it. Next is The Insiders, which is the first book in the Insiders trilogy by Tijan. I went into this book blind. I recommend anybody go into this book blind, and it blew me out of the water. I was expecting just like a regular romance, but it was just so much more than that. It was so much, there's so much action, and so like it made me realize how much I love romantic suspense books. Next is The Damage, which is the second in the Insiders trilogy. The third one wasn't out at the time when I finished this. That's the only reason why the third one isn't on this list to begin with, but great series. Next is The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kann, and this is so underhyped. Please pick it up. It's so good. I really wish more people were talking about this book. It's so good. Next is The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren is like a go-to author for me. I love all of her books, but I especially loved all the STEM and the data analytics in this book. I loved the characters. I loved everything about this 5 stars. Next is Covet by Tracy Wolff. This is the third in the Crave series. The series just is like an addiction. It's a comfort series at this point. I will always be talking about this series. I will always love the characters. Highly recommend. But don't go into it expecting a serious fantasy. It's just a lot of fun. Don't expect too much. Next is My Sinful Desire, which is the second book in the Sinful Men series by Lauren Blakely. This book is, I really liked this whole series. I didn't quite finish it, but the characters and the romance in this book was like top tier for me. I loved it. I love Lauren Blakely's writing. Great series. Next is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, which is the first book in the Knock 'Em Out series. And this one is another one that's a book talk favorite that deserves all the hype it gets. I love a good slow burn. If you love a good slow burn, you'll love this book. Next is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. What can be said about this book that hasn't already been said? Loved it. Emily Henry can do no wrong. I will love all of her books forever. Up next is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, another 5-star read. Become a go-to author. This one is the perfect mix of romance and comedy, as well as like adding in some more serious topics. Loved it. Next is Running Wild by K.A. Tucker, which is the third book in the Simple Wild series, but this one follows Marie, and I really was not expecting to like Marie. I was almost fully convinced there's no way I was going to like her, but I gave it a shot and I ended up loving her by the end. So if you really don't think you'll like her, just give it a chance. Next is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is just such a cute YA romance. It has all the like old school rom-com references and it's just a lot of fun. I loved this book. It's so cute. Next is The First Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, and this is another one that's worth all the hype. If you don't think you'll like graphic novels, I didn't think I was gonna like a graphic novel, but Alice Oseman packed so much emotion into these pages and I loved it. I loved their story. I'm really excited to continue it. Next is Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was, I think, my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I really am surprised about it, honestly, because I was started it and I was like, I do not like Carrie, but she just grows on you so much, and Taylor Jenkins Reid really knows how to write an unlikable, likable character. I loved this. And it's a real tearjerker too. Next is Lucy on the Wild Side by Carrie Rhea. I have heard no one talk about this book, but it's so cute. The animals in it is super cute. The romance is super cute. Everything about this book is really well done. I highly recommend. Next is Broken Fae by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is the fourth book in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series. This series is so good and I feel like no one talks about it. Everybody only talks about Zodiac Academy, but you're doing a disservice to yourself if you're not reading this series as well. It takes place, I think, 5 years ahead of Zodiac Academy, but the characters in this one are what makes the book. They are so lovable, and actually you've probably met a few of them in Zodiac Academy, so if you want to learn more about them, you should pick up these books because they're amazing. Next is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is a beautifully tragic book. You think it can't get any worse, and it just keeps getting sadder and sadder and sadder as you read it, but it's so beautifully written. I don't know what else to say about this book. Next is Fated Throne by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is the 6th book in the Zodiac Academy series. If I remember correctly, this one broke my heart in 2 reading it, and I don't know how they do this, but they write just such interesting characters that's why these series are so popular, because they're all so interesting characters, and the plot line. Are they the best written books? No, but are they a lot of fun? Yes. Next is Warrior Fae by, again, Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. I went on a real kick with of the Zodiac Academy series books by the end of the year. This is the 5th and final book in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac Academy series and of the Zodiac series, and it was the perfect conclusion. The epilogue was so well done. Like, I loved how it hopped around. You got to see all of their different points of view one last time. So good. Next is Faking Under the Mistletoe by Ashley Shepherd. This is another one that took me by complete surprise, but the tension and the banter in this book are A+, and that's why I got 5 stars. Next is Kisser Ones for Me by Allison Cochran, and this is such a good, cute Christmas book. Oh, it's so cute. So, like, the characters are lovable. It has so many great holiday activities. It's like the perfect Christmas book in my opinion. It's like the perfect holiday romance. It gives you all those warm and fuzzy feelings and puts you in the Christmas spirit, and I just loved it. And last but not least is The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was the perfect ending to a wonderful trilogy. These books are just so much fun. I loved it. So good. And that's all the books that I gave 5 stars in 2022. I didn't think I could go through all 222 books that I read this year, but I figured this included all the important ones. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave in the comments what your favorite book of 2022 was. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.